New series. I always do like this for some reason whenever I need to say something. Oh, new series. This is one that I have a lot of passion for because I'm running two D&D campaigns at the moment, one of which is entirely homebrew. The only thing that isn't is the fact that I'm doing it in the world of Wildmount. And today I'm going to be talking to you about some of the creation process for a dungeon that I made for the Wildmount campaign, which I have named For the Revelry, since it's about the party being a bunch of ne'er-do-well pirates, but they're all mostly really nice people. I need to make a lot of stuff for my Sunday game because it is entirely open world. That's a psychological thing, because in reality it really isn't exactly open world. Here's the corner of the world. You can go anywhere there. If you suddenly decide that you're going to go to Islecross, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen there. I won't have anything prepared for it, but I can certainly go and look at the details for it if I really needed to. This is why for this sort of stuff, having players with frickin' teleport and teleportation circle is scary as hell, and I hope my players never get it. Plane shift is fine. Plane shift is fun. Then again, they could just travel to random planes, but they need to find tuning forks that take them to specific planes, so you know what to prepare for, basically. Nevertheless, it's not really open world, but I am slowly making it open world by continuously building on it over and over and over again. I am doing a lot of prep work for my Sunday game right now, and I have no problem with it. I'm going to take you through the process of some of that prep work, because I am currently working on the island of Rumblecusp. Anyone who watches Critical Role will know that's where, Vokodo was and where the Traveller did his thing. I have changed almost every element about that other than the volcano and the tribes. That's it. They're the only two things I kept. I'm not going off what Matt did and does for everything. The only thing so far in the campaign that I have taken from Matt's campaign kind of a bit directly, apart from, the world, but you know what I mean, is the Plank King's voice. That is the only thing that I have copied from Matt for this campaign. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of different stuff for Rumblecusp. It's going to be a pretty open area. I currently have about 3 or 4 locations for them to explore. I have a tribe of Furbolg werebears who are very peaceful and will just talk to the party and they'll give them free stuff so long as they don't do anything bad. There is a large tribe of about 50 to 100 kobolds who have all started worshipping a volcanic geyser because they think that a dragon's trapped in there, and they're chucking all of these random items that they find on the island in there in hopes that it'll bubble out and a wormling will just pop out, and they're like, yes, our lord, yes. I have a goblin outpost prepared with a buttload of goblins so that I can kind of justify goblins being in the random encounters there. And finally, the one that I have just finished expanding on is the one we're going to be talking about, a dungeon. I named it the Howling Caverns after the creature that I put in there, which howling is a clue. We'll get onto that in a moment. Hopefully an image of the final product will appear on the screen if Laura's nice, because I want to show you guys the final product of the dungeon first before we probably get into it. This is a map that I got from Incarnate. I didn't make it myself because I felt like I didn't really need to, since there are other people out there doing that sort of stuff, so might as well take the map outline and just plop it into my game, But I really like the short but simple thing. There's a couple of different routes that they can take. There's 2 entrances. One is much more difficult to enter than the other, or at least they think. Turns out it's the other way around, etc, etc. I wanted to kind of go over my process for creating this dungeon, what I put inside, the ideas that I got from it, and go over a little bit the key components that really got my mind going and allowed me to create this dungeon. First of all, I thought of what creature would be there. Now, this was a decision that kind of came along via literally just me reading into Volo's guide. Volo's guide has the first chapter is probably my favourite out of that whole book. Most people are like, ooh, more monsters and races. I'm like, no, I want to know the specific intricacies of how kobolds work. I really like the Volo's expansions, and they expanded on the creatures that I ended up using, which caught my eye, gnolls. Not only do gnolls just sound cool, and they certainly seem fun to run as kind of swarm enemies, since they don't have too many cool abilities, they just have a lot of hit points and their rampage feature, which lets them, when they knock someone down, just frickin' go crazy for a bit. Which makes sense for gnolls. It's also because they fit the terrain well. Rumblecusp is forest, jungle-esque, and gnolls fit that. Gnolls fit most areas. They could be in a desert, they could be in a tundra, just give them different colours of fur and you're sorted. I then considered why they were there. That's the next key thing I think that you need to think about before even the layout of the dungeon. Consider why they're there and what was there before them. In terms of what was there before them, it was an old mining operation from the Clovis Concord, who were trying to secretly take hold of the Revelry, and they still are to this day, which is going to be an interesting plot hook for my party at some point when they start realizing the Concord are messing with their business. They started a mining operation, and it fell because something known as a frog Hemoth bursted out. Hopefully an image of that thing will come on. That's also in Volo's guide, and it's a very interesting monster. They were doing their mining operation, and this thing was just hiding in the water for ages, and when they came, they just all died. And then it ate them all. And then when the gnolls moved in, they found it before it could attack, and started throwing food at it and trying to appease it, and it worked. The gnolls now see this frog Hemoth, which is a humongous frog, as kind of like a vessel to feed. Gnolls worship Yeenoghu. If you need more information on kind of their behavior and stuff like that, I did a video on them actually. And they're kind of using that as a vessel to feed so that they can appease their god and one day maybe let the demon lord out of the abyss. So the boss of this dungeon is the frog Hemoth, as well as its general, because I always like to have at least one other sidekick sort of person that is very powerful as well, a Flind, which is basically a gnoll times a billion and can make people go insane and has a flail that just bah, and now you're insane. They're the biggest bags of gnoll hit points I've ever seen in my life, and it looks like they're a bit smarter and can lead a bit better, so I thought, yeah, that makes sense. So the both of them are kind of working together. They have an agreement set that is somewhat wordless, except I decided to add other components to how they would communicate, since the frog Hemoth cannot talk, which I'll get to in a bit when we get to the room that they're in. But yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about more of the structure of the rooms and the like, and I wanted to go through my thought process of what to put in each room and what I was sort of considering that the party will enjoy. The main entrance, the open one, the open cave entrance, is heavily guarded by 4 gnolls and a troll. Now, I think that this is a must for some encounters that you feel like you want your players to slowly get used to the things they're going to be fighting in the dungeon. My players know what the heck trolls do. They fought them like 6 or 7 times, so I'm not really doing anything special with the troll. The gnolls are all going to be distracted. They are going to be eating, and the party has the potential to sneak up behind them or around them. They're in a specific way where they can't exactly just roll a stealth check and then just move and just go past them, but some nice thinking, some misty steps, some teleportation, some crawling across the ceiling, something like that could get them over without being spotted. They also have a spiked wall of wood. You know those, right? You got the stick, and you've got the spikes going like here, and they're all wood, and it's just like a wall where they can mount their bows and shoot if the party come in. The troll is asleep as well, so that the first encounter is entirely on their terms, and they get to get slowly used to what they're seeing. If they engage in the gnolls just up front, that's entirely up to them, and that's their decision. And yeah, I think that kind of frames things well. If they go down from there, there are a series of staircases, and near the bottom is the first trap. The only trap that I think I put in there. Gnolls are not as crafty as kobolds. It's a classic, log comes from the ceiling and whoosh if you trip the rope. And it's going to do a lot of bludgeoning damage. It's not like half on a successful save. It's none on a successful save, because if you jump out of the way of the big massive thing coming your way, it's just not going to hit you, and then you're good. But I put that in there just to basically and reduce some of their hit points. It's an encounter where I don't need to run combat. It's just a quick dex save thing. It's somewhat easily findable. But the players have to actively look, because passive investigation I despise. I see every trap now because my passive investigation is 19. Looking at you, Ryan, for Mad Mage. Frickin' arsehole. From there, I have their kitchen, which is in fact just a butchering area where they chop up the meat so that they can eat it. They're slightly more civilized kobolds, if you will. There's a higher up, a Gnoll Fang of Yinogu, which basically more hit points, more damage, etc. Your classic, let's just upgrade the regular, which is perfectly fine. There's one of those in there. There's actually two of those in there, so that the party can learn, oh, we're not just dealing with regular gnolls here, they're a lot better. And in that room, nothing in particular. They keep all their good treasure deeper in, basically. The last room before we come to intersections and stuff is full of lucrotas, I think that's their name. They're like weird massive dogs with like human faces, but like ugly human faces, and they're all very angry. Like manticore dogs, imagine that. They can be minions for gnolls, and I thought, why not have it be their room? They're all chained up, and they have vats of food each that they're just eating from. There is another Gnoll Fang of Yinogu there. On their turn, if a combat starts, they're immediately running and using their big 3-attack multi-attack, which I think is what they get, to smack each of the chains off and like unlock them. So that would be an interesting situation. The party could immediately go for the gnoll, seeing that the dog things are collared up, and then they're going to have to start making strength checks to get out instead of just being able to for free. So I want to go quickly and divert to the other side, the other smaller entrance, which just has a hole in the middle, and it's a bit smaller. This is a trap, kind of. It's a trap in the sense of there are two invisible enemies there waiting to push them into the hole. I think that that's a decent introduction to the place. There's definitely a lot of fail-safes there, though. Like, they fall 80 foot around, because that's how falling works. So it's a push, and if they, get shoved by the creatures, they're falling 80 foot around. They will have 3 rounds before they cannot save themselves anymore. They can make either athletics or acrobatics checks. I think maybe just strength or dexterity. I might allow them to use those skills. And if they fail, they fall a bit more, and then if they succeed the check, they manage to grab onto the side of the wall. And they will be able to very slowly move their way up or stay there. Either way, they're going to need to keep making checks afterwards. Not in the middle of a fight. Like, it's like once every couple minutes that they'll have to make another check to hold on. Because that 300-foot fall ends in magma. So I don't want them going in there. The 2 creatures that shove them are Bolgaras, which, I don't know, I just love those. I think I've ran them like 3 different times now. They have the invisibility spell, so they're going to be using it and stood there and just waiting. Just bah, bah. And then is just going to try and use their attacks to shove. They just want to shove one person, and then they'll just go berserk on the rest. I don't want to create a situation where 3 people are falling at once, and it just gets really, really awkward in there. I did this so that it's a more harsh introduction. They get to avoid a lot of the masses of gnolls, but instead they have to deal with more environmental hazards, if you will. The intersection between the other entrance and the Lucrota room, the weird dog things, is an old mining exhibit where there's some backstory to it. There was magical mining going on before, again, that Frog Hemoth just killed everyone. So it's a bit glowy and stuff, and they can get a buttload, more than 1,000 gold worth of gems there, one of which is specifically a 300 gold diamond, because players don't think to buy those. And yeah, a party member can get the spell, but what if someone dies, and they don't have the components? So that's going to be there for them, so that they have like a trial run with it and learn the importance of it without me punishing them with an instant character death and they can't do anything about it. 1,300 gold it sounds too much. My party's level 7 and they're pirates. The gold is on very high and the treasure is very high, because I might start getting other captains to take them away. So yeah, it's tit for tat. From there's a pretty empty room. It's got like a bonfire in it and some Smash stuff. There's backstory behind it, but it doesn't serve gameplay in any meaningful way. Can be like a halfway resting point if they came from one of the front entrance, if you will. And then you have the secret door, which isn't as secret as a secret door should be, honestly, but I want the party to find this one. There's like a bit where there's just a bunch of piled up equipment on the wall as they just kind of walk past it. I'll describe it as they go, and they'll be like, it's not like a check. I'd let them investigation check for it, but they could just move all of it back, and it goes into the lovely little grass cave area, if you will, with a Cobalt Soul Archivist in there. There's actually a quest they'll be able to pick up in another town where they have to find this guy, or, you know, one of the Cobalt Soul people, and he's in there. He's a nice guy and won't exactly help the party unless they're very, very convincing. He wants out of there ASAP. He's not exactly a combatant. He's a cleric, but most of his stuff are like detect magic, identify, suggestion, calm emotions. He has like Beacon of Hope. That's his thing. That's the only good thing he can do. He's going to be a fun NPC for me to play, and I think that using that would be a break from the gnolls sort of stuff, because it can get boring to just keep barking at your players constantly, and instead you get to talk to them. I always try and put like some level of an ally that you can get in there, something to interact with that won't directly kill you, that is a creature, because it makes the party, you know, I don't know, it's less of we're just going to push through each room and kill everything in there. I analyse each situation carefully. Then we have the final room, where there is the Frog Hemoth, the Flind, bunch of gnolls, not too many. I just put a bunch of gnolls in there so that the initiative counter was balanced. And a Bullywug. I also made a video on Bullywugs, and I'm finally using one. The Bullywug is my solution to the Frog Hemoth not talking problem. The Bullywug is acting as a messenger for the Frog Hemoth, translating its weird gargles because it claims that it knows the language. I believe it does, to be fair, now that I think about it. I think that it has a trait that allows it to understand frogs and talk to them, but he's definitely skewing the answers to make himself look more favourable. If a combat breaks out, the Bullywug's running to the other side of the room and hiding behind a wall, and then going, please no, don't kill me, I just wanted some friends. Because that's all he wanted. And that's another encounter. They just by them being on the enemy side, they're not going to like this guy. It's a potential that he just gets stabbed. I'm perfectly fine with that. He's cool. That last encounter is very difficult, but that's because the rest are somewhat easy, in all honesty. The gnolls are always imbalanced by the initiative. I don't have any more than 4 or 5 at once, so that allows for the party to, I don't know, not have to waste too many resources when they get to the final fight, and suddenly that's when everything starts ramping up and they get a little more tension. Because if you set the bar low and then jump over the bar, they're going to like it more. In any case, that was me creating the dungeon. I think that there's definitely some other things that I want to implement after talking about this video. I definitely want to add a layer action to it that perhaps makes a geyser of water just suddenly shoot out and maybe knocks a couple people prone or something like that. I don't know. I'm going to play around it a little more and see what I can do with it. In any case, thank you for watching. Hopefully my thought process and my decision making and what was behind it can hopefully help you guys with creating some of your own stuff. I tried to pack as much advice as I could into this, basically, full on. And yeah, thank you all for watching the first episode of Homebrew Kitchen, that's what we're calling it. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. I'm not sure what I should do for the next video, so let me know. If no one lets me know, I'll probably just go through the process of the most recent thing I've made. I made a spell a bit ago, I might talk about that, who knows. Yeah, hopefully you guys have stuck around, and hope this was you know, somewhat useful. Bye! Did I say kobold? I meant gnoll. I probably said kobold. I can't remember, but I meant gnoll. Toilet to go flush.